Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Sci-Fi Sunday on this channel where we talk about all things sci-fi, and today we've got to talk a little bit about The Acolyte. There's been some controversy, but I don't think it's all that bad, and I'm gonna tell you why. So let's jump right into it. You know I like to keep the channel spoiler free, so we are talking a bit about some things that could border on spoiler material in this video because we're breaking down whether or not the Acolyte sort of breaks canon or not. So you are warned that there may be brief spoilers for the series. Okay, so a few weeks ago we did talk about the Acolyte, and we were kind of questioning whether or not this would break canon, and I told you guys that I didn't think they were going to do anything that was going to absolutely ruin Star Wars forever. Well, jump forward, and they still haven't, however they have caused some controversy. There are two ways to think about this. There's the way that you think about it as it breaks canon and it's absolutely bad. And then there is another way of thinking about it. They are able to do a lot of things because the expanded universe, or legends if you will. I actually prefer to call it the expanded universe rather than legends, but I do get the reason for them calling it legends. For the purposes of this video, however, we're going to refer to it as the expanded universe, because the idea of it being legends is actually meant to give it more of a mythology, more of this mythology where things could change. In the book, from a certain point of view, you see this happen where you see a couple stories being told by different people. And every time it's told by different people, a different story kind of conveys the same events that happened in the Cantana in a completely different way. And the reason that that's important is that even within their own canon, there is room for things to be a little bit twisted. So just for the sake of our video, that's how we're going to refer to it. And George Lucas himself had said that he didn't like all this extra stuff being written. So that's why he kind of cut it down anyway into this sort of legends, into this expanded universe, if you will, where things could have happened this way, but it's sort of become an alternate thing because it's not official canon according to Lucas and Disney unless it's in the movies itself. And now with Disney bringing comic books and stuff like that back, it has now been in comic books and shows, and anything that Disney puts out is now considered to be the new canon. So, on one hand, it doesn't break canon, but it does cause a lot of controversy. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of these controversies. First off, let's talk about the twins, because I had to watch the episode a few times because I kept wondering if I missed something. Did I miss the part where they literally said they made the babies from the Force? And the answer is no. They did not make these children from the Force. At least they haven't said yet that they did. Now, they could have used some dark side power. The Night Witches knew a lot of dark side magic. It's potentially possible that we could learn that some of that happened. Well, there are two lines of thinking on Anakin's birth. Some people believe that Palpatine legitimately made him by manipulating midichlorians. Now, Anakin, as far as we know in the movies, was a miracle. He was created by the Force itself, with no father. And if this show is telling us that these kids didn't have a father, that's not the same as saying that Anakin's mom gave birth to Anakin and he is the chosen one, chosen by the Force. It's not the same because in order for it to be the same, they would have to be created by the Force. And we do not know as of yet in this series that that is true. And if it is true, then they're going to have to explain a little bit more. Now let's move on to another thing. Ki-Adi-Mundi. Ki-Adi-Mundi is a character in Star Wars. He's a character in the prequel series. And he should not be alive all the way back in the High Republic. At least if you believe in the EU. In that whole expanded universe of Star Wars, his species is actually given a specific age range. They're not supposed to get above the age of like 80 or 90. Basically, they have human years in terms of lifespans. We are even given his date of birth in the EU, and it's nowhere near this long ago. Well, the series actually decided to make him older, to put him in here. And the question becomes, does this break canon? Now, the thing of it is, it's not even the year that people are concerned about. It is what he says. He says specifically one of what people are calling now, to make this argument, the most important line in the movie. The Sith have been gone for a millennia. He says there hasn't been a Sith in a millennia. Well, okay, that's great. We're assuming two things here. First off, we're assuming that he's not lying. And then we're assuming that he knows. Because there is a third option, however. So time out. There's actually three options. Because the third option is that we're not dealing with an official Sith Lord anyway. However, I actually believe that we have to stick with the prime two options. Either A, he is lying, or B, he doesn't know. Because either one of these things at this stage in the series is still plausible. When they're talking about this situation with May and Osha, they do not actually ever say the word Sith. In fact, they are kind of assuming that this is a Jedi. They're assuming that this is a Jedi who is doing all of this, who is chasing them, who is actually trying to destroy them. He could be mistaken later on, and it's completely still within the realm of possibility. Now, I don't really like the idea of them doing this. However, I'm not against it. I'm not against them saying that he just don't know, or that there's some major cover-up that he has not really ever been part of, that he never learned the truth about this cover-up that goes on here, because that's what we're looking at. If he is mistaken and there is some sort of cover-up by the Jedi to make it so that he doesn't know. And that's essential here. Because if they make him know, and then he just says that, well, then he's lying. And then we have to find out why he's lying before this series ends. There are some reasons that we have to address here. There are some things that have to be said. Otherwise, you break the existing canon that is in the movie. Forget about the EU canon for the time being. That's not really important to his overall plot. Because sure, they can make the character older. Sure, they can say he's there. In fact, I sort of like the idea of other aliens in Star Wars actually getting to live as long as Yoda. And we don't know still that he lives as long as Yoda, but he definitely lives a lot longer than a human. And so I see this as sort of a good thing thus far. However, they have some explaining to do. we'll just have to see if they can explain it off. Now, the other thing about this that is important is that Yoda has actually said in canon how the Jedi during this era were sort of arrogant. They were sort of a little bit less than Jedi. I mean, in terms of like we know Jedi now. They were not perfect. In fact, it was all of the things that happened during the High Republic that turned the Jedi into what we know them as today. So this whole thing here, with him being alive and him being able to be in the High Republic and see this go on, it's only if he actually sees what happens that really starts to matter. And it is only if they actually say that these twins are officially created by the Force itself that this actually matters. Because up until they say those two things, up until they say that he knows about this Sith, and then they don't explain any lies, or they say that these twins are born of the Force, and then they don't explain how this is not known later on. Because that's the thing too. If it is officially the Force, this doesn't really break anything. Because you can say they were created by the Force and nobody ever has to know. Remember, this is a completely different era in Star Wars. And in fact, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here, because if they do this, if they do these two things, if they go, these children were created by the Force, and he knew about the Sith, if they do those two things, then it may not be in this show, but in some show, in some form, the truth will come out. And it's how they handle that truth at the time of it coming out that will actually make the difference in the official canon. I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a bit about those situations. I want to gather what you guys are thinking about it. Are you thinking that it's pretty cool so far? Are you intrigued by how they're going to explain some of these things to us? Do you think that it makes a huge difference if they never explain it at all? As always, we want to know what you guys think, so make sure you leave us that comment in the comment box below. Make sure you share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of the conversation as well. Don't forget to hit that like button. It's free, it helps the channel, and we appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers, and look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss a single video we do. Then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.